Iowa Congressman Steve King says things and attention sometimes follows. At a rally in Nebraska, he said this to the crowd, quote, "Obama, how much blood has to be spilled before you defend our border?" Now, he had been talking about illegal immigrants, and he said from his sources, they've told him that illegal immigrants are responsible for killing multiple times more people than the nearly 3,000 people who died in the World Trade Center attacks. This follows that comment, Doug, that he talked about the cantaloupe-sized calves of illegal immigrants when they're crossing the border here.
Carrying drugs.
Carrying drugs, and they're more involved in the drug trade than valedictorians in high school here. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, as you're sitting on your couch watching the news and you hear these clips from Steve King, what are you thinking?
I'd turn it off. He doesn't represent the Republican Party. The Republican Party is the party of opportunity. And you're not the party of opportunity if you try to divide people one against one another and degrade and dehumanize a whole segment of our population. I'm frankly, as a Republican, one who's been involved in our party for a long time, sick and tired of what Steve King is saying. We have people who understand that legal immigration helps invigorate our economy. We also have people in our party that understand you can't just mass deport 11 million people. We also have people that don't want to spend $70 billion on border patrols and dogs and fences and walls and the like. What they want to do is create an economic opportunity here for everybody in the United States.
He told Radio Iowa the past week that he hasn't ruled out running for president in 2016. Is that legit? Is that something you think he'll do?
Steve will do, obviously, whatever he wishes to do. He certainly likes attention. And I think, Steve is an intelligent guy, so I'm always dumbfounded by some of these statements because I think he likes attention sometimes more than he understands the impact of what he says on people. And so if he likes attention so much he wants to run for president, he will. He won't have a chance. And frankly, I would suspect if he keeps this up in 2016, I think it's very likely Steve King will have a Republican primary opponent in his district.
But not in 14?
Not in 14, not likely.
Tom, how do you view what's going on?
Well, I think our Iowa delegation works well together. Republicans and Democrats, they occasionally get together and do stuff out in Washington. Steve King is not effective, and he doesn't work with any of the other Iowa representatives, and he's not viewed as being someone who anybody wants to work with up on the Hill, so he's not really representing his district well either.
People get so fired up about him, but he gets reelected comfortably. I heard him speak at the Family Leaders thing up in Ames last month, and huge ovation, and most of the crowd was up on its feet. So he clearly has people who very passionately believe in what he's saying.
He does. There's a segment of the population that believe in what he does, but he has a district that changed and in the last redistricting, and he actually ran in that district behind Mitt Romney. Let's not forget that. Yeah. So, and I thought, with all due respect, Christy Vilsack was not a very effective candidate. She may have had money, but she was not an effective candidate. And so I think there's vulnerability for Steve. He needs to watch his knittings. What Iowans tend to do is when you get too big for your britches, they tend to send you home. You better watch it.
But is primary really realistic? That almost never happens.
It is.
And usually get primaried from the right.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's interesting. Well, it'll be interesting. Our party is really, there's a struggle for its heart and soul right now. I think that'll sort of culminate in 2014 when our party has to decide who its leaders are going to be going forward, leading into the 2016 caucuses. But if you look at the numbers, a lot of Steve's comments actually are getting a lot of mainstream Republicans fired up. They're going to get back involved. And ironically, I think as a result of that, he's going to find it more difficult in the Republican Party in the future if he keeps this up.
Congressman King is just one of the Republicans that voted to, or at least working to try to defund Obamacare. When we come back here, is this persistence here that'll eventually pay off, or is this just political games we're watching in D.C.? We'll look at that next.